Hey guys, CloudyObsession here again. This is another serious video, unfortunately. It's nothing funny this time. There's been some confusion as to what's going on with Don't Ask, Don't Tell. A lot of people have been thinking that it is gone, and unfortunately that is not the case. It is still around, but it's not active. I'll just start from the beginning, and this is just a sort of to clarify. It's the Reader's Digest condensed version of what's been going on with it, and this is just stuff from memory. It's not 100% accurate, but it's just sort of a condensed. I'm just going to try and put it in ways that it's easier to understand, because a lot of the articles that I've been reading on about it have been kind of misleading, the ones that have been in heavy circulation. So this group called the Log Cabin Republicans are a pro-LGBT Republican group, have been probably the biggest activists as far as taking down Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And they had enough support that the Democrats decided in Congress decided that they were going to put an appeal, or a repeal rather, of the law that instated the policy. They were going to vote on it in Congress, but they didn't just put up. They didn't just try to pass a bill that repealed the law. Because the Democrats were afraid that they wouldn't get enough, that they might lose out on votes from some of their own, and they knew that none of the Republicans in the Congress would vote for it. So they tried a ploy that would get Republicans to vote for it, and they slipped it into a military spending bill. It was a clause or what have you, and so they figured that Republicans would, of course, vote for the military spending bill, and so they'd be obligated to vote ultimately for the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. Well, Republicans got all upset about that, and so they decided that they were going to make 20 amendments to the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, roughly, not exactly 20, but a lot. And Democrats came back with, no, you get 3. And I believe it was 3. So, naturally, that pissed off the Republicans, and the Republicans wouldn't vote for it because they didn't get all their amendments. And then a lot of Democrats decided they weren't going to vote for it because they were upset that the Democrats leading the committee had decided to give any amendments to the Republicans. So it didn't get a majority, and it was defeated. So later on, there was a ruling, and I cannot remember where for the life of me. I don't remember either, but there was a ruling by a district court judge in a case where a nurse, I think, someone working for the military was expelled or expelled is not a good word, but was relieved, kicked out because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. They either outed themselves or were outed or something. But the district judge, they took it to court, and the district judge ruled that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was unconstitutional, and that got them their job back. And a lot of people were thinking, oh, it's been ruled that it's unconstitutional, it's gone. Well, no. The district judge can only make rulings that affect their district. The only court that can make rulings that affect the entire nation is the Supreme Court, and it has not gone to the Supreme Court. It's never even touched the Supreme Court. So it only affected that district. Later on, another judge called for a suspension of the policy. They outlined this halt of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but it was another district judge. They couldn't really do anything as far as actually putting a suspension in place. They were just it was a gesture. It was a judge saying, "Hey, we should put an end to this." So the Pentagon, it's a convention now. The Pentagon decided that they were going to look into the issue of or non-issue of openly gay people serving in the military. They were going to conduct a study and take action regarding or based on the results of the study. Well, they did their study, and they decided that they were going to call for a halt on the policy as outlined by the district judge that called for it initially, that they were going to order a suspension of the policy, which is good, but it's not gone. The law that outlines the policy is still there. It still exists in U.S. law. It's just the Pentagon, which is the authority, the ultimate headquarters for the military, if you will. The highest authority aside from the commander-in-chief, which is the president, the highest authority of the military, they just ordered a halt of the policy, meaning it's still there, but they're not practicing it. They're not allowed to take any action. Military officials aren't allowed to take any action regarding it. They're not allowed to kick out people that are openly gay, and recruiters can't refuse people that are openly gay if they meet the regular criteria. So they called a halt on it, but it's, like I said, the law is still there. And basically the process now is the Pentagon and the activists that are against Don't Ask, Don't Tell are going to work to try and repeal the law again, in whatever way. They could try and the Democrats could be underhanded and try and tack it onto another bill, but see how well that's worked so far. So hopefully they'll just bring a bill to court that says we're going to repeal this law and vote on it, because that actually makes sense. You should actually vote on the merits of the law instead of trying to sneak it in somewhere and playing underhanded politics. But the problem with that is the Pentagon is the highest authority of the military, again, aside from the president, but it's still regulated and directed by the government, of course, because the military doesn't just get to do what they want. So at any time a group in Congress, or any politician on a national level that holds an office could put together a committee and a bill that would for Congress to vote on, that would basically say that the Pentagon isn't allowed to halt the policy anymore, that they have to enforce it again, because whatever their reasoning behind that is. So they could draft the bill, send it to Congress, and if it passed, then Don't Ask, Don't Tell makes its comeback. Because it's still in law, all they got to do is pass the bill that says, hey, you're not allowed to restrict this anymore, and bam, it's the policy's back. And the frightening thing is that's a possibility, because if we end up with a Republican majority after midterms, then it's entirely possible. And I don't think that there's going to be a repeal of the law before midterms, because midterms are, next month, and it takes forever for anything to get accomplished in Congress. That's the big thing about the U.S. government is especially the Congress is, it takes forever for anything to happen. But that's also kind of a plus, because that also means that it would take a long time for them to pass something that would restart the policy over again. But anyway, long story short is it's halted, but it's not gone. It could potentially be repealed, but it could also come back, depending on how things go. Probably the midterms will ultimately decide that. It's a step in the right direction, but it's a small victory. I wouldn't even call it a victory. We certainly haven't. We haven't even won the. It's not gone. We haven't even won the battle yet, let alone the war. So yeah, that's that. Hopefully that gives you a little insight onto that whole issue.